Okay, so this is the February Web Dev SIG for koha-US 2022.
Okay, let me share my screen. Let's see. Okay, do you see Harry Potter on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so I was playing around, we use Syndetics, and I was playing around with the Syndetics additions system preference. So this one right here. And if you click on that, it shows you all the other editions of the work, but it's sort of non-usable because I think what it's doing is, I'm assuming like our Spanish edition must have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 ISBNs in it or something, because we only have the one. So it looks like it's repeating. And so if I was a user and saw that other editions of the work, I wouldn't even bother with this, which is why we generally have not had it turned on. So I was curious, does that look like what it's doing? It's repeating it for every instance. So if I go there. I also think it made things slow.
Yeah, when we had the additions thing, the ferberization thing turned on, there's a system preference that can use thing ISBN for that. It slows things way down.
That's what it seems like.
But yeah, it looks like all those links are pointing to the same bibs.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, well, at least I've got 4 ISBNs in that record. And then the other thing I was thinking is, would I, even if this showed just one per bib record number, would this be useful to my patron? Because I can't tell what the editions are. Like I can't tell which is large print or which might be an audio or, a play away versus a book on CD. And I was just curious if others had used this, had thoughts on it.
Yeah, we don't.
So you need something else besides, you need the subtitle to be included.
Well, subtitle, maybe this one doesn't have one, but I'm thinking like the item, well, maybe the item type.
We kind of have that sort of information always in the 300A. Like that helps us distinguish between large print, sound recording, that sort of thing. What we really need is bib frame and all that jazz. That would make this work, right?
Yeah, like we still use the GMD, the 245H, because it's useful.
Yeah, we do too, but not consistently. But that would be a good play. If you use it consistently, that would
Yeah.
be something you could pull in.
So it's not a big issue or anything. I was just, I'd been in the Syndetics system preferences and I knew I'd had that on at one point and then I knew I turned it off. So I turned it back on to see how it worked. And then I remembered why we weren't using it. And my other thing I've been looking at lately This was a bug that Christopher put in, and I think it's an excellent idea. So he has basically just an introductory page. So the first time you're a new user, the first time you log in, you could go to, a page that gives you some information about the library. You could promote your resources, some kind of, it's almost like a welcome page. And then he had some ideas on, how you would know it was the first time the user logged in and that kind of stuff. And I just didn't know if that sounded like an interesting idea to other people.
I like that he says it could maybe be a modal on the main page.
Mhm.
That only pops up if you have never had a login attempt.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting idea. And it could be one of those many things that lives in the news item area tool that is modifiable that way.
And what it would be based on, I think there's borrower login attempts, and if that's set to 0 or null or something like that, you would pop that up. Does that sound right?
Seems like.
Maybe. Isn't that one like tied to their passwords? Like if they fail so many times, then it locks them out of their account. So does that count or reset?
I do kind of foresee it being like popping up when in times when it's not supposed to.
Could it be like a cookie or something? I mean, they accept the cookie and until the next time they clear their cache, it's
But
gone
then
away.
if they logged in like at the library on different machines,
They get to see it every time. You're right.
it's interesting. I think there's a couple of roadblocks maybe in implementation, but it's definitely
Now, question, like we have one restricted page for our databases, but isn't there a way that you can add just like another page? So
yeah,
I don't know how that's done, but it could also maybe be like you could create the other page with the sort of welcome or the, here's all the stuff we told you at the desk that you don't remember, and here's the brochure that you're not going to look at, which you probably won't look at this either. But, you put all your resources and here's how you log in and, all that stuff. And maybe on the login page, when they log in, there could be, or a place in their account, I guess, for, see what the library has to offer, click here or something.
I guess you could set a new flag too in the database, perhaps just like a 1-0, like has logged on, hasn't logged in.
The Virgin flag.
I do kind of like that idea separate from this of just having like a page within the OPAC that you can direct them to with like resources and things for new users. And you can just do that with a news item, right? Like an expired news item still has a link you can point to, I think.
I think the way we have that kind of stuff set up is since we have so many different libraries and all of those things are kind of different. I think in their library configuration, there's a way to click on a link that takes into that stuff at the individual library's website. Because that's the issue for us is we don't,
Mhm.
you know, we have potentially, 40 some different sets of rules. So that we don't, having a one size fits all modal that popped up the first time you log in. I can see there being some general stuff there, but it's not going to have, libraries all the time are saying, this is the place to go for the catalog. And then there's this other place to go to for the things that are, the policies are specific to this library. So.
If this was part of the news tool, you could set it branch specifically.
Yeah, totally. That would be one way to go about adding that kind of stuff. I think I told everybody this would be the kind of thing too. I think I told everybody at the last meeting that I had asked Bywater for a quote about what it would take to add like patron extended attributes to the library records. And I've gotten a quote back from that. I haven't talked to Mike yet about it, but that would be the kind of thing where if there was a specific policy page for a library, that could be in the additional attributes. And that might be another way to get data like what you're talking about into the, for a large consortium like us, that would be a way to put a link in there that not just a link for the library's homepage, but a link to maybe a specific page of the library. Could be a library extended attribute that could be put into their records somewhere on the OPAC. That was a use for that I hadn't thought of yet. So. The quote for that idea came back at $5,000. So I'm going to talk to Mike about it and then see if maybe some of the other consortia want to take part in that development. So.
I'm so glad I'm just a single library.
There are a lot of advantages to that, but it's not as much fun.
Oh, I have plenty of fun.
I guess I can share something sort of web devy I'm doing. So we have at the system headquarters a bunch of collections that we kind of curate for our member libraries, and we're working on ways to kind of promote that. So I've been building up a web page on our system website of these things. It's not done, but I've been working on it. So it's using koha reports to feed into these different sliders that I've made, and then kind of broken them down into the different categories. It's still a little janky because I'm using like a plugin. But yeah.
Is this the bookshelves plugin for WordPress?
So this is not the bookshelves plugin. I could have used the bookshelves plugin. I was trying to find a more sort of portable solution. So it's using Flickity, and it's not using a plugin. It's actually just pulling the Flickity stuff off of a CDN. I have trouble with our website because I don't have all of the access to everything. So I try to like work around that in different ways. But yeah, we are using the bookshelves plugin on all of our new library websites, which is nice. So with our ARPA money, we paid a developer to come up with different, or it's basically the same website across our different libraries, but they each have their own library website now that's kind of more modern and polished. And all of my seek and find libraries have a bookshelves hooked up so that it's pulling their 30 newest items and feeding into their new websites, which is really nice. We used to use LibraryAware for that, but they had to manage it within LibraryAware, like add things to and from the list, which is still an option with the bookshelves plugin because we can do that with a list in Koha. But I like that we were able to kind of bring it back into Koha and then feed it out instead of having to use a secondary party to manage that stuff. So that's kind of what the web devy stuff I've been focused on lately is collection promotion, that sort of thing.
I agree with Heather's comment in the chat. It looks cool.
Mhm.
Thanks.
The flickety thing too, that looks good too.
Yeah, part of our challenge is like some of that stuff is really heavy, so they have to pick it up. So I've done some modification. I guess I can show that too. Some modification on the actual records. I don't know, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, and this is not that pretty either, but it works. So it's suppressing the OPAC because these are meant for our libraries to borrow from us. I think I messed it up because there's like nothing there right now at all. But it's supposed to take away just the placehold options. So I put a big banner up here that says no holds allowed. It takes away the placehold button here and the placehold button here. So anything in that array that I had defined is doing that. And it looks like I need to fix something so that my search results aren't totally broken because I got rid of everything there.
Christopher and I both, this is something that we'll be doing on the next video, Christopher and I. And it's something I've been doing for a long time, and I can't find my staff comment. There we go. This one. You guys can see Koha, right? So the code that I've been using for years to build these tabs, we did some video where I was doing something where I mentioned those tabs, and I do it one way that I've been using for a long time, and Christopher does it with Bootstrap a different way. So that's going to be the next video, is the two different ways to create those tabs on those pages.
Georgia is one of those ways with jQuery UI.
Yeah, it's just with jQuery that I found a place that I built it with. Is there a change coming to the jQuery UI?
It's being removed from Koha currently. So I would say use the Bootstrap method, because the jQuery UI, you could still potentially do it, but you'd have to load your own assets and stuff like that, and they won't come from Koha anymore. So
Okay. Well, then I'll pay extra attention to what Christopher's doing. I did a presentation on this, how I did this at the conference in Coeur d'Alene. So there's a bunch of CSS and a bunch of jQuery that goes into that system preference. That so I'm not sure that it actually uses anything from the UI, but it does use a lot of jQuery. I'll have to look at what it. I'll see what's coming up in the development. So, but that'll be the next video. So, which we'll record next week, I think. I can't think anything else I've been doing the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm trying to find other stuff that I have done since our last meeting.
Well, I guess this is something that I did with our last upgrade. I put the library name on the opposite. So we got the next logo over here, and I put a library name over here just to make it a little clearer to everybody. And then I have lightning bolts because I'm a system administrator. But this way, it makes it easier for the libraries to know which library they're at. It's a bigger text than the drop down. And we have a couple of libraries that they have different branches, and so it helps them keep track of which branch they're at.
I was digging through my system preference here. I don't think I've talked about the different stuff that I've been using on the course reserves module. I can kind of show to switch it over to the displays module. So Ed did a presentation in Portland about using course reserves for displays. Most of his code was focused on the OPAC. I know for us, if we're going to use it, I need a lot more clarity for my librarians on the staff side. So I've gone through and done a lot of changes to labels, hiding things, updating some things. So it more logically is a displays module for them and not a course reserves module. So the navigation links say displays, the buttons say add new display, and things like that. I'm not sure. So I changed like all of the labels, and some of them are inconsistent. I haven't launched this at all yet. I was hoping to have it out sooner than now so that all those libraries that wrap up their blind date with the books could keep track in here, but I didn't get it done. But basically I've gone through and changed terminology where it needs changed so that the staff members don't get confused. Which is, there was a lot of stuff. So it would be nice if we could get that bug moving again that says, let's have a displays module, but I'm not sure what all that would take.
I know I would like that bug to move forward because I have libraries using the course reserves module, so I can't do both things with it. So,
do you happen to know that bug number?
Well, we can find it. I think it might be this one. Yeah, it talks about duplicating the module and relabeling it, that sort of thing. All right, I think I've really scraped the bottom of my system preference here. Does anybody else have anything they want to talk about, or problems they're trying to solve, that sort of thing?
Well, I did put a bug in today at our recent acquisitions meeting. We were talking about how it would be nice to have a column on the acquisitions homepage that showed you, there's totals there, but there's nothing that shows you like the total still available or total spent as far as percentage. And so I put this one in. So to like add a column that would, not have just the numbers, but would show you percent still available. And of course, after I filed it, I also thought, some people may look at it as you might want to see more your percent spent. But the column on the page does say, the last column says total available. And that's what we talked about at the meeting.
I think, let me show you some, give me one sec. I have some jQuery that I've done somewhere. Can you see that?
Yeah.
So that just adds the percentage in these sort of graphs lines. So if you want that jQuery, I can definitely
Cool.
offer it to you.
Sure.
I like the graph lines. I wish we used acquisitions so I could have a use for that too.
Barbara, if you like, I could just try adding that somewhere for you, your test server,
Yeah, that may actually be some that I've got that someone else gave me. It looks very similar. And I've got something in the test server right now. I'm not sure if it's exactly like that or not, but let's see, test server. It may be the same because it looks very similar.
here, how about this? I'll just put here's a paste bin.
Okay.
With that code in there.
I'm trying to think of other places I could have percentages so that I can use those bars too. They're very pretty.
Well, I started adding some of what you shared, Jason, with the book covers in the reports. I had some code that I was trying to use and it wasn't working for me. And then lo and behold, I attend a meeting and then the same topic sort of comes up. And so yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, it mostly works. I mean, it sort of depends on Amazon sometimes because you're going out and trying to steal their images, but it works for what I use it for, which is basically I'm making a newsletter with that list of books and covers, and I just want to make something that kind of looks pretty together. So that's why I wrote it.
Another thing I was looking at recently was lists, which we haven't made a ton of use of the lists yet. Mostly, I think it's just staff doesn't really, they know about it, but they don't use it. And I don't know, maybe we haven't promoted enough to staff to, create lists. But I've noticed with the small amount that we have, it feels like it could get very messy very fast as far as organization. And it seems like it would be nice to be able to have, these lists are ones that kids would enjoy, and these are ones that adults would enjoy, or these are, fiction lists, or however you might want to group or categorize things so that you're not looking through this really long, list of lists.
And if you want to see a really long list of lists, just look at my OPAC.
Oh, yeah.
Or mine.
Yeah, you can't
Just-
navigate them. It's terrible.
Just turning that list into a data table with a search box at the top would be a huge help.
I think there is a bug for that, isn't there? Making lists searchable in the OPAC or something like that.
Yeah, I think there is, and I know that I'm on it. Yeah, we have 20 pages of public lists. With 20, I think there's 20 on each page. So that's got to be at least 40 lists. I did spend some time about a year ago. I went through all the lists that were public that had 0 items on them and had them deleted.
Yeah, and I have libraries that like adamantly use them and libraries that don't. And part of why I'm trying to move things to the course reserves module / displays module is to declutter some of that, because it is like it's easier for them to manage, have like a circ worker manage, because they're just adding and taking things out with a button click rather than dragging it into lists or going into the cataloging and actually changing things there. And I think that will help us kind of declutter. So like if they have a new items display, they can manage that stuff in the displays module rather than managing it on a list. Because right now lists are sort of directionless for us. It's people use them
So-
every which way.
On the OPAC, that list of lists would be helpful if that was a data table, so it could be sorted.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure there's a bug for that, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess the actual page in the OPAC is opac-shelves.pl.
Yeah.
I think it's that bug. 181.
Mhm. So Jason, when you use the displays, are those always actual displays, or are you just bringing things together and sort of mimicking the list?
So we're using it both ways. I think we're planning on using it both ways. So I've got it, the authorized values set up to have like temporary and permanent, like distinguish between temporary and permanent. So they can do like their blind date with a book would be a temporary display that they've pulled all their books into. But I also want to use it to manage like their new shelf. So they've always got a new shelf. So I want them to cycle things in and off of that new
Mhm.
shelf with the display module, because right now they're going in and changing, they're getting cataloged in a new shelf location, and then they have to go back and change the shelf location later, and it's never a one-to-one, so I can't just automate that. So if we can catalog it where it's supposed to live permanently, and then use the display module to mute myself, display module to temporarily put it in the new shelf location, then that makes it a whole lot easier workflow wise. So yeah, we're trying to do it both ways.
Couple months ago, we had a program where we went to a local brewery, and they were going to sign up people with cards, and they took a selection of materials there to check out, right then. And so they were asking me, what's the best way to do this? And we looked at lists, but that they didn't really want to do that. But if you had, I haven't used the course reserves as display, but so you could set that up and then put all those things into the display, and it's just a matter of showing the group of things, because it's not got anything to do with the circulation or anything, right?
Yeah, so within the module, I can share my screen again. Maybe look, it's nothing. So when you add a reserve or a display, you set that stuff up. So you give it a name. This is where I have permanent ongoing. I'm pre-filling the library name because I need that for my consortial needs. And these fields all kind of behave differently in different places. So I lined it out this way so that when you're looking at it in the OPAC or in the staff client at the actual item, you're getting all that information, pertinent information over here. So it's saying the display name and where the display is in the library, and we know that that's it here. It also actually does pull in the library name, but it's commented out because for whatever reason that field that I adapted does that. So I do have that information on the page as well if I need it. So when you add items, let's see, let me get a book. When you add items, I hid a bunch of stuff here. So for me, I'm just wanting them to pick one of these two shelf locations to modify it to, but you can't, it gives you the option for everything. So like if you want to change the search time, you could change the item type temporarily, and that shows on the next page here. So you can see that it shows unchanged item type collection code. The location is usually DVD. It's in new right now. When I remove it from the display, it goes back to DVD. So you could even have a different branch for that stuff that's going outside the library if you wanted. You could have like an outreach branch, and it's temporarily housed there. And then when you remove it from the display, it'll go back to where it needs to be. So there's a lot of flexibility built in, which and I think there's a lot of good logic built in to kind of manage these sorts of things that we haven't been taking advantage of.
And what does it show? Does it show anything in the OPAC for each title? What is it?
It's the same as how it showed in the staff client. So it pops up another column over there that shows the same information. And then on the OPAC, I think I've got that. I didn't do a whole lot of modification on the OPAC. I think I added it back to my Explore menu here. Course reserves is one of those things that lives under your search bar, which I've hidden, but I moved all that stuff up here. So the patrons can browse digitally those displays that are available. It shows their libraries, it shows what's in the displays. And then on the actual record, it has that displays column so that they can see
Okay.
Iola, there's a display there, and that's where that book is if they pull it up in the catalog and want to try and find it and can't. Which is another big thing that we wanted to accomplish with this, was like both for staff pulling holds and for patrons browsing the catalog. It gets frustrating when something's in a display and you look all over and then you happen to walk by it because it's sitting on a rack somewhere. So those were some of the problems we wanted to solve with this.
Yeah, you've done a lot of good work with it.
Yeah.
I would love to use it, but like I said, I've got a library that actually uses it as a reserve, like for what it was made for, as a reserves module. So.
Yeah, and I mean, since all the modifications are jQuery, you could technically opt them out based on their logged in branch code, just like put the code in and then
Yeah.
say for this library, don't activate this code. I'm sure that's a possible thing.
That sounds like a lot of work. The way we handle displays is I've only got a few libraries that are using displays, and I just have, we have the 3 basic shelving locations we use are adult, children's, and young adult, because we're using it as to designate those 3 item groups really. And so Baldwin has like Baldwin adult display, Baldwin young adult display, Baldwin children's display, and then they have to manually update those when they need to. But it because there's a one-to-one relationship between Baldwin adult display and adult, I can it's easy to batch change them, and I could conceivably write code to I could add a rule in the automatic modifications by age to move those automatically if necessary.
Yeah, and we definitely can't do that. And also, like, we're trying to represent the items where they physically are. So even if we could automatically change them over at a certain period of time, we can't guarantee that at 6 months those things actually got moved. So this gives us the circ desk control over when it's actually getting taken and put into the stacks. Well, for not having anything to talk about, we filled 45 minutes. Is there anything else you guys want to attack? Heather, you got any cool cataloging stuff? No? Okay.
I don't know about you guys, but I was out shoveling snow this morning, and so I'm getting kind of sleepy. So we have about 8 inches of snow here now. So
I don't know how much we got, but it looks like it's still snowing.
yeah, it's still snowing here.
We got like, got woke up to just ice, like pouring from the heavens. It wasn't snow, it was hard freezing rain, and then we closed. So here I am.
Here it rained first, and then it snowed on top of the ice that froze.
All right, we landed on weather. I think that's always the last topic.
And you don't want to know what the weather's like here.
No, I don't.
No.
My mother-in-law was watching the Super Bowl, and they were saying it's 80 degrees in Los Angeles. Yeah, fine.
It's not that warm here, but it is sunny and breezy, and we have, the pears and cherry blossoms. Or no, it's terrible. It's cold.
I think it's 20 degrees here right now. So
Okay, so I think the other thing that we talked about last time was thinking about rescheduling these, but I guess they work. If people want to come, they can come. We've got 5 people, which is good. So I think this is fine with me if it's fine with you guys.
Yeah, I'm sorry I was late. I didn't have the Zoom client loaded on this computer. It took a few minutes.
All right. Well, I guess that's a wrap, and we'll see everybody next month.
See you later.
Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Thank you. Very interesting as always.